Okay. Right then. Okay. So the cat box was previous video. It's okay, but perhaps a little bit too magical. So this time we're going to be in Visual Studio Code. Okay. Over here, this is the Multix extension, right? Still talking to the same backend, but it's VS Code. There's a little bit more, obviously more functionality. Uh, and still got the two terminals, but they're kind of in separate, separate windows now, browser windows. They're all logged in under the same user ID and whatnot. And I've got, my workspaces over here, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Topology, my two terminals are listed here, and there's these things called workers. Okay. So there's this little function foo. Okay. As we had before. Now it's just a function foo. Yeah, I've got some stuff up here. Okay, so this basically says, yeah, look, use your logger, output goes here. This is Multix commands up here, right? And the output goes down here. Otherwise, just straight TypeScript, okay? But anyways, we've got this little function foo, doesn't really do much of anything. It does a sys logger. Okay, what's sys? Sys is just an internal, Multix internal thing. There's all sorts of stuff in sys. Obviously, the logger is one of them. But it doesn't really do anything, right? It's just a function. Okay, so I mean, imagine if you had a second function here, right? Bar. Okay. Um, Still, it's just another function. It doesn't do anything, right? What you're missing here is we need a list of instructions on how to navigate the code path, if you will. There's no code path in this thing. There's no category, as we would say. And so normally what you do is you'd have to, somehow call this, right? So in C++ or Python, you have to create like this main thingy, right? I can't use the word main because main actually is a reserved word in Multix. Um, and what I do is I'd say, okay, well, I want you to call foo, and I want you to call bar, okay? Or maybe I want to call bar and then foo, okay? But the point is that this stuff here is different animal than this here, okay? Just mentally kind of separate these in your mind, okay? Now I need to call this. So how do we call something in Multix? Well, I'm going to create a TypeScript comment, and then I'm just going to put a %, and now it's kind of like a Multix command shell. It's like Linux, in a way. And I'm just going to type in main thing, okay? And then I'm going to run it. I hit the control right arrow, okay? And I run it, something happens. It picks up this job number, says, okay, you're running this. It sends the job to Cloud Worker 14, which is down here. Now, it basically routed it, right? So this is a cloud module. It's declared as a cloud module. So it was routed down to this Cloud Worker, okay? And then that ran it, and it ran bar, and then it ran foo, okay? And that was it. And nothing came back because it doesn't return anything. And if I had to return, 42 like before, and then run it again, I get a 42, okay? But the idea is that it's I can basically keep hitting this right arrow and just reruns everything. It automatically pushes it up, to the worker, okay, and then hot loads it basically, and you come back with this thing. All right. So the idea is that any one of these could be an entry point. You don't have just one entry point anymore. You've got as many as you can come up with. Let's say I just want to run just foo by itself, right? I'll just do this, hit that, and then just foo runs just foo by itself. But let me just clear the terminal here. So I hit a control left, terminal's cleared, and then hit right, and then you'll just see foo running by itself. Okay. Now this looks like it's running twice. It's really, this is the star. This is the entire command, and this is the first part of the command. Because you could have, this could be lots of segments, right? So that's why there's this, it kind of breaks out to 1, 2, 3. But got one segment that looks like it's running twice. Maybe we'll, most of the time it's not a problem. So what we want to do is that you're kind of separating the category from the code. Okay, so because we kind of just create a category here. I mean, I could even do something like the functional programmers do stuff like this for all day long, right? So let's say we have X, and then say we return X times 2, and then maybe this takes, I don't know, X, Y, whatever. And then we're going to say return x plus 10. Okay. So if I want to call bar, I can go bar of 50 and look at the output down here, I get a 60. Okay. And then foo of, 100 gives me times 2 is 200, right? So I could take the output of one and put it in another, right? So foo of 100 and feed it into bar. Okay, that's going to give me 210 because I'm adding 10 to the output of this, right? And of course, the way the functional folks like to do it, they would say 100, goes into foo because they don't like to put any arguments on anything, no parameters, and then that goes into bar, and then we get the 210 that way. Okay, and you can see this is where the star comes into play, right? Because we've got the whole line here. First command is just 100. The second command, number 2, is foo, and then the third command, 3, is bar. Okay, so that's what that's going on there. And they're all going to the same worker, of course, because that's really the only one running right now. Right now, let's switch gears. Now let's create some weather, right? So let's call let get weather. Obviously you could use Postman and whatnot to do that sort of thing. I'm going to just delete all this, and I'm going to write a little function that gets the current weather, right? And I'm just copying it out from another file, obviously. And okay, so it's async, and you can use any syntax you want here. This is just plain old Typescript. And what it does is, okay, I've got an API key. You have to have a key to use the thing. And I did this demo a while ago, but it wasn't very clear what I was doing. I'm going to call fetch. So I probably need a fetch. What is it? Well, let's just run this, right? Let's just see what we get. We get an error. I didn't give it an argument, so it says, guess what? There's no result for the city name. Let's say Paris. Okay. And what it does is it's going to give you, let's pull this back, gives you the weather in Paris in Fahrenheit. Why is it Fahrenheit? Because I have units set to imperial, right? And then this data comes back. So I know from running this before that .main is what I want. But if I didn't do that, just run it, I'm going to get all this stuff back. Temperature, humidity, coordinates, wind speed, clouds, all this sort of thing. And this is the nice thing about running these things interactively, right? I mean, Postman's all great and all, but sometimes you just want to do things in TypeScript. Okay, so and I'll obviously I can do more than one. I can just have it get weather, Seattle. Okay, and now notice how it scrolled off the screen. What I can do is I can just do Control up arrow, and it'll take me to the top. And in fact, if I do a Control Shift, I can kind of move around these without having to move the mouse. This way I'm kind of minimizing the context switch between the mouse and the keyboard when I run things. Some people care, some people don't, right? But anyway, so it's 66 in Seattle. Okay. Now, if I go back down here and I hit the right arrow again, okay, it's going to, let's say data dot. Go back to what I had before, which is what it was .main, I think, right? So if I run data.main for Paris, okay, actually I just ran it here on data.main. I was on line 20 and I just hit the right arrow. What it did was cursor went up until it hit Paris. Okay, so it didn't hit Seattle. There is a way to prioritize Seattle over Paris. So you basically do a double %. Okay, and then it'll basically run that, and now it'll pick up Seattle. Okay, so if you've got multiple, really this isn't all that useful unless you've got a bunch of commands embedded inside a big function. Normally, if you're just inside a function anywhere in there or inside a SQL statement or anything, you can just kind of hit the right arrow, and whatever the command is, it'll just bounce up to the first one it finds. So you don't have to constantly keep moving the cursor back up. Okay, so that is that. Uh, Now, obviously, when you compose these functions, you want to be able to resolve these things, and eventually, the parameters in these functions get so complicated that you've got to actually come up with a way to follow the dependency tree. We'll get into that later. That gets more into crafting than anything else. Right now, let's not. We're not going to get too much into this. But what we will do next is let's create a little Mongo DB um, demo. Okay, so just join me for that in a minute. Thanks.